Hi, everybody. So we'll get started in a few minutes. We'll still have the County Fire Chief, Scott Goldstein, the County Executive, I should have said his name first, but Mark Elwich, Police Chief, the Director from Homeland Security, Deputy CAO, Earl Stoddard, and some other support agencies will be here also. If you don't know, they have set up there's probably going to be about 100 people displaced. The Red Cross and our Health and Human Services are working to take care of all that. And one of the shelters is right across the street at the, conveniently located right across the street, so everything's going pretty good there. And like I said, the chief will be with you in a moment to give you an update on some of the numbers and the latest information. My name, Pete Piringer, P-I-R-I-N-G-E-R, and I'm a spokesperson for Montgomery County Fire and Rescue. Again, Fire Chief Scott Goldstein, common spelling S-C-O-T-T, Goldstein, G-O-L-D-S-T-I-N, Fire Chief, Montgomery County. And I believe the County Executive, Mark Elwich, will be joined, and along with Chief Jones from the Police Department. While we're waiting, any questions, anything? Easy questions?
What's the condition of the people in the hospital?
That's a good question. I don't know exactly, but nothing's changed as far as I know. We did have 5 people that were transported with, I would say, priority 1, which is for us, that's critical, serious injuries. The chief will probably have an update on that as far as their, actual status. Several other people were taken to the hospital as well.
How was it working? There's a ton of these apartments going back through here that look like they're just inaccessible to the residents. Any idea when those might be back open for people to come in?
I didn't hear the first part.
What these apartments like going back here look like they're just inaccessible to the residents who live there, but it doesn't look like they might be evacuated purposely. Any sense of when they might be let back in?
You talking about these apartments?
Yeah, like moving back around this way.
Well, I mean, it's probably just logistics, hoses, and things like that. I don't know. Specifically around here, there's going to be 3 buildings, 3 buildings that are displaced, affected. What you see there, and then one right across there that you can't really see. Not this building, but around that corner there. And that's about 100 people, but the chief might have more specific numbers for you. All back here, it's just probably fire trucks and stuff in the roadway. Fort Detrick is, we have a mutual aid agreement with them. They're a fire station right across the street. It used to be Walter Reed Annex. That's now part of Fort Detrick. And like all the federal agencies in Montgomery County who have fire stations, they run automatic mutual aid with us. And they were the first on the scene.
I'm having it's kind of hard to hear you, but I'm wondering, could you give just an update again? How many displaced, how many transported?
Yeah, I'll save that for the chief. Chief will give it to you.
Oh, okay. Is there any risk of more building damage? Further collapse or more explosion?
Yeah. Question is there more risk of collapse? That wall you see there will probably collapse. It's freestanding by itself. Otherwise, it's just a pile of rubble. This building here, the roof is burned off, so that's damaged as well. Chief will answer all these hard questions.
Hear anything that you were facing that way.
Well, I was answering her question. I believe the county executive was across the street talking to the people that were displaced or over there now, so they'll probably have an update for you on that. Thank you, everybody. Here, as I said, Chief Scott Goldstein, County Fire Chief, will be first up. He'll introduce the others. Of course, we have the County Executive, Medical Director, and council members, Council President, and so forth here. But first will be Fire Chief Scott Goldstein. Chief.
Updates from our previous 12:30 conference information. No additional patients have been transported. Our transport information remains at 10 people transported from the scene, 3 with serious injuries, 7 with an assortment of injuries ranging from moderate to minor. The scene activity. Most of the fire has been extinguished. Most of the visible fire concern has been abated. We are now working on the stability concerns of the building. We have heavy equipment coming to the scene that will assist us in taking high and large parts of the building that are a fall hazard down so our crews can work safely on what is the remains of the building itself. So that equipment is on its way and is critical before we continue work on site. Additionally, we have worked on the surrounding buildings. This is a 6-building complex. 3 of these buildings are declared unsafe to reoccupy. 2105, which is the blast site, 2401, which is the building to my left, the building to the left of to the right of the original building, and 2411, which is the one directly across from the main part of the blast building. Those 3 buildings have been assessed by permitting services and fire rescue engineers. Those buildings are posted unsafe to occupy. There is apparently a couple other apartments in 2411, which is the building closest to our point here, that will be limited access. Our goal is to get the remaining 3 buildings reoccupied tonight with all of their residents. Our goal is to get all of the residents in 2401 and 2411 back into their units with our escort to retrieve critical belongings so that they can then be sheltered with our HHS and Red Cross partners. As I may have said earlier, this is going to be a multiple day event. One of our components is to establish scene security and fencing around this structure, and that will be taking place throughout this afternoon until this evening. Throughout this afternoon, since our 12:30 meeting, you have seen aerial operations being supported by our local law enforcement as we work to document the scene and prepare to have the picture of where the building was at the fire and blast point before we start the delayering. That's why the drone was in place operating, because the building will change as we start our operations later on. We do not plan to operate after dark. This will be a daytime operation throughout this building, throughout this event. Update: we do have several unaccounted for. I do not have a number to provide you at this point. We are working with all of our law enforcement agencies, the property managers, and all of the occupants to be able to refine that. That number is still in flux, but yes, there are unaccounted for people that we are concerned with, and as I said at 12:30, our focus is to remain here until everybody is accounted for. As I said, Pete outlined, County Executive Elrich will talk, and then after the executive, President Albornoz from Council, and then we'll provide questions.
So I just have a couple of things to add to the previous comments. First, Montgomery, mhpartners.org has set up a website on their website where people can make contributions. So if people want to help out, they're collecting contributions there, number one. Second, I got contacted by HSC, which owns the Paddington Apartments, which are pretty adjacent to here, and they're looking through their inventory of vacant units, and they would help us locate people, put people into permanent housing as quickly as possible. We know from that one building, which is pretty much not there anymore, that no one will ever go back there, and so we're going to need permanent housing very quickly for them. They're going to help us identify units that we can move people into. I was just over at the Caulfield Center, and they are registering people over there. They've registered about 29 families, I think, so far, and we're encouraging people that this is where to go. And if you come back to the site, if you're hearing this on radio on your way home or on television later before you get back here, go to the Caulfield Center, go to the second floor, and that's where they'll take the registration. We're going to try to house people and assess them tonight. We want to know, how many people are under, how many people are under really severe stress and needing mental health supports and emotional supports. We want to be able to assess that population before we disperse them to shelters or to hotel rooms. We want to make sure that people are getting the help they need. So we're going to do that as quickly as possible. Like I said, we're working on permanent housing, and we're all waiting for the outcome of what will be the ongoing investigation to determine what actually happened here and what made it happen here. So as we go on, we'll be back to you all again. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gabe Albornoz, President of the Montgomery County Council. On behalf of the Council, we want to extend our deepest condolences to all the families that have been devastated by this awful and tragic incident. One of our own Council staff members, a building service worker, lives in the residence that was destroyed and was at work when she found out in real time about the incident. Fortunately, she and all of her family members are accounted for, but she has lost everything, like so many families have here this afternoon. We want to thank all of our first responders from Montgomery County, but also our neighboring jurisdictions who responded collectively and efficiently and quickly to address the situation on the ground. We also want to thank our Department of Health and Human Services, the Red Cross, Montgomery Housing Partnership, and all of the partner organizations that are working collectively to provide support for these families in their incredibly difficult time of need. There are trauma-informed workers at the Caulfield Community Center as we speak that are going to be helping families process what they are going to have to see for the first time as they come home from work this afternoon. The Council stands completely and totally ready to support the executive branch and everyone else that needs support today. Buenas tardes, me llamo Gabriel Albornoz, soy presidente del Consejo del Condado de Montgomery. De parte del Consejo entero, queremos dar cariño y un abrazo a todas las familias que han estado afectadas por esta tragedia. El Consejo del Condado está aquí para apoyar y el Departamento de Servicios Humanos está aquí para servir la comunidad entera. Vamos a estar aquí organizando con otras organizaciones comunitarias para poder apoyar a la comunidad entera hasta que cada familia recibe la asistencia que necesitan. And finally, I just want to once again thank all of you for helping to spread the message, for all the residents that have reached out to our offices and want to help. As the county executive said, please visit Montgomery Housing Partnership's website and make a contribution there. Thank you all very much.
Before questions, I want to provide update on 2 points from earlier. One question at the 12:30 was about prior 911 calls to this complex for gas. We have done an analysis since the 1st of this year, since January 1st of 2021, and there were no prior calls in this block for odor of gas or gas leaks. Several medical calls, but no prior gas calls. The other question still to be determined is what type of utility service and how that utility service operates in this building. That one I don't have an update on, but provide that. Ohani will work on coordinating questions.
So you're going to go up first?
Chief, you mentioned that you've determined that there are people that are unaccounted for. I know you wouldn't give a number to that, but can you just elaborate a little bit more on either whether it's people who live there, family members that haven't been able to get a hold of people? Is there a chance that they're just gone and out of pocket? Can you just elaborate on what you do know about these unaccounted for people?
It's still work being developed. It is exactly all those combinations that you provided. It is a person who's not reported into their family. It is a person that is perceived to be here but may be out of town. it is a person that has not been able to be in contact. So all of that is what's being looked at, and it's too early to refine exactly how we get to that point. We'll get to that as soon as we can with confidence.
But did the family members or the people who live here tell you that they thought like loved ones might
We're
be
working
involved?
through that information with our law enforcement partners and our witnesses and our victims.
Chief, is there an active search underway right now for any of these people who you say are unaccounted for? We saw the K-9 unit go through. Did the K-9 alert at all?
Active search. Yes, since we last talked, we have been actively searching in 2405, including K-9 activities. What I referred to is that excavator having to come in and remove that freestanding wall. We searched to the extent that we're able to safely. When we get that wall secured, then we'll go into more searches and more areas of search.
There's one more in the back. And then
That was my question. Is the search and rescue with K-9s, do they believe anyone's in there? Does K-9's alert prove to anything in particular?
There are possible indications of alerts as we operated earlier.
Can you see what the search team has found? Can you talk a little bit more about what they found?
Still part of our investigative activities.
Chief, just a numbers question. Of the 100 or so displaced, how many were in the building that actually exploded?
So the building 2405 is about 35 based upon the leasing office information. The adjacent building is about 32, and we're still working on the numeric for 2411 to get that one refined.
I know we mentioned, or you guys mentioned Montgomery County Housing Partnership. Is there anywhere people can take physical donations rather than monetary? Are there any agencies that you guys are in the process of partnering with?
Yeah, at this point, good afternoon. Raymond Kroll from HHS. We're asking folks not to make physical donations, but to go to Montgomery Partners to make donations online. We will keep you updated about where and what our other needs are going to be going forward.
in situations like these, physical donations become unwieldy very quickly. So right now, at this point, until we make a later determination, monetary donations are the best. Again, that site is mhp.org/help-families-affected-by Lightensville-road-fire. So,
I have a question. I know you mentioned calls about gas or possible odor of gas. Other than a possible gas leak, like we saw the flour assays, what else are you looking into that could have caused the explosion that led to the fire?
There's several different theories being worked on, and that's where I need to leave that at. That's being worked through the investigators. Once we have information we can share, we will.
Chief, with the possible indications of alerts you just mentioned from the canines and the fact that this heavy machinery has to come in to shore up that wall before the crews can get safely more in there to look around, how long will that take, and is there anything that you can do in the meantime?
So the heavy machinery is actually to remove the wall, to take down the freestanding wall in a controlled manner, and then enable us to work on the remaining collapsed portion of the building in a safe zone. So, estimate hours, no. It's going to be a period of time before that machinery can be in place, and then have that operation start on the remaining collapsed portion of the building.
But they can't search around in that area right now.
They've done everything they can at the moment.
I just want to make sure an intentional act, is that still on the table? Is that something that can be ruled out?
Not ruled out. Everything's still being evaluated by all the agencies involved. All right.
one more in the back.
How many people will be displaced with this?
Our initial number right at the moment is about 100 people throughout those three buildings. If that number changes, hopefully that number reduces, but that is what our assessments are at this moment.
Have you pinpointed possibly where the explosion was, what apartment it originated in, and are the people in that apartment accounted for?
Not pinpointed yet. We're still working through all of that and the people that were in the building at the time with that information is helping us. All right, last two questions.
I'm sorry, one more time. Can you just elaborate on the order of operations here as it relates to the recovery and going through, along with the stabilization,
Sure.
doing what you have to do with the wall, just make sure we know what's next.
Dealing with 2405, the order of operations is removing the freestanding unstable walls, followed by then working on the rubble pile or the collapse of the structure to find victims and also help support the investigation. Away from 2405 is the operations to secure the property, placing that fence, the operations of securing the water supply, enabling us to get folks back into the 3 buildings that are able to be reoccupied, and escorting the folks in the 2 buildings that are still standing but unsafe to occupy, getting them back in to get their belongings. So that is the operations between now and nightfall tonight, and then tomorrow will be a new day.
Got time for one more question? All right, well, thank you for coming out. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. will be our next briefing on the situation, and we'll be here at 9 a.m. All right, thank you all for your time.
Did you want to talk to the councilman? Yeah.